All right, everybody. Hey, it is May 15th, I believe, is the day today. It's 9 a.m. here in Honolulu. I just moved, if you didn't know that. So I'm living here now in Hawaii. I'm very excited to be sitting down with the Foxify team. I know this is a weird time and day. People on PST are noon, so it's lunch, and then people East Coast, so it might be a little bit early. For them, 3 o'clock might still be at work. So there is going to be a lot of people that do watch the recording. We want to thank those people. But without further ado, let's go ahead and who's here to represent the team, and maybe we can go one by one, and maybe a little bit about who you are, maybe a little bit about past experience, and maybe projects that you've worked on and you can acknowledge that you've worked on in the past. Anything to give us a good idea of your experience in the space would be truly amazing. I will go ahead and just let you, whoever is going to speak first, go ahead, and we'll get into some more harder questions about the protocol and really start to understand it. Okay, anybody want to speak first for Foxify side? Oh, okay, interesting. There's nobody here from the Foxify team? Or are we having some difficult? Oh, I'm trying a lot, sorry. Okay. I guess Danny's having some troubles with his chat.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you now, Danny. Yeah, that sounds good, bud. That's sounding a lot better. You got it all figured out maybe on your end?
Yeah.
Okay, just whenever you're ready, brother. Is there anybody else from the team that's here that could maybe speak while Danny's trying to figure out his earphones on his side? Okay, and is Dumpe with you guys, or should I server mute him? Okay, I'm gonna have to server mute him since nobody's talking to me about what's going on. Let me go ahead and send a message to Alice and ask her what's going on here.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you the only one speaking here, Danny, for the team today, or are there anyone here to back you up?
I'm the only one speaking. Can you not hear me okay?
I can hear.
People got their line unmuted. So.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, but there were some previous people I asked, are you from the team, and they're not. So I'm going to just server mute everyone until you tell me that these people are here to speak. So,
yeah, it's just me.
It's just you. All right, everybody that comes in needs to go ahead and mute. Sorry, we usually do these family styles are a little bit easier on my end, so I like to see people and do different things. But all right, Danny, the floor is yours, man. Let's go ahead and maybe introduce.
Yeah, camera if you like.
Yeah, cameras are great. Good to see you, bud. How's it going?
Oh, yeah, good.
Fantastic. We also have Gabe up here, disappointed, who is our Discord manager, and he actually had some couple questions for you as well. But we're still at the intro phase, so let's go ahead and maybe Danny, go ahead and introduce yourself and a little bit about you and your past experience and what brought you to the space, man.
Hold on, Rob. Before we get started, do we want to keep it here because we're at 24 to 25? There's only 25 spaces.
Oh, I thought we can go to 99. No. Oh, when you're sharing your camera, there's 25 spaces. Yeah. Okay, just stop. Everyone, just stop sharing. Just stop sharing your camera. That should be fine. There we go.
Really weird situation.
Wait,
you just have to stop sharing.
Gabe, can we go to a stage and share?
I'm not 100% sure there, to be honest with you.
All right, we'll just start it here. Danny, yeah, just take up that camera just in case. We don't want to get maxed out. Just go ahead and you can remove that camera. Apologies on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get into it, Danny. Drop it like it's hot, brother. What? Introduce yourself. Drop it like it's a hot-ass potato, my friend. Hook us up.
Yeah, I need someone to give me a beat to bring me in. And
I got you, brother.
I'll wrap the whole AMA just for you.
I love it, brother. I love it.
Yeah. Jeez, I'll be 40 next year.
Hey, it's all good, man. Me too. I'll be 40 a year and a half from now, so it's all good, man. I support you, bro. Whoa, I appreciate that, man. Hey, Dad, text me after this. I love some good positive feedback. But anyways, we're here about you. So let's tell us a little bit about you, Danny, and why you built Foxify. What kind of led you here? How'd you get here?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think should I do the intro for anybody that maybe doesn't know me and my background? Is it worth doing that?
You know what, Danny? I don't think a lot of these people might not know who you are. Just maybe a quick 1 to 2 minute background of who you are and where you came from. That would really help people understand your knowledge in the space and what led you to Foxify, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I've been in the industry 15, 16 months, live in the industry for that long. And, I won't go, we'll keep it short. I've worked for several $1 billion plus companies. I've worked for a couple of Fortune 500s. You can see it on my LinkedIn. I'm not one of these DeFi bullshitters who make up their work history. And I just love solving problems, to be honest. I'm always attracted to things that are like super disruptive. And obviously blockchain technology is super disruptive. I've worked in many other disruptive technologies and industries previously, and I was a really frustrated investor in the space actually, and I kept thinking over why do projects always fail, and it felt like they always failed. Obviously that's not completely true, but it felt like most failed, and so I thought really long and hard about that, and I came up with MDB, which stands for Make DeFi Better, so the clue's in the name, and ultimately I wanted to build a protocol that when I was spending 4 hours on the train commuting and a little bit of spare cash, not crazy amounts, but certainly 5 figures, and a bit of time to spend catching up on investments, I thought, what sort of thing would I want? I'd want something that delivered like steady returns, was sustainable, and didn't succumb to all of the other reasons why most projects fail. So we launched MDB. I quit my job like an absolute lunatic and launched MDB a week before the Terra Luna crisis. But I think we've learned so much in that time. It's been such a learning journey because MDB did very well. 8x during the bear market. It delivered on its promises of being sustainable and delivering growth over a long term, over a long period of time. In the harshest of conditions, actually, there's certainly no wind in our backs ever. And really, looking at the space, you see this shift back to decentralization. I'm somebody who firsthand, I'll be honest, was a little bit scared at times. You imagine you just quit your very comfy sort of chief revenue officer role and they started a business and there's people that depend on you. And it looked like a horrendous time. It was a horrendous timing, but it looked like a terrible decision for a short period of time. And we dug in and we got through it. And during that period, you can see the problems within the space, and you learn in a bear market, you learn about the worst of the industry, which is there in a bull, but you just don't see it so clearly. And one of those is decentralization, and you see the boom of decentralized trading platforms. I don't like to just do what someone is already doing. And I didn't actually know that much about decentralized trading platforms, but I did know they existed. And then I started to think about why they're not really getting big. Yeah, don't get me wrong. GMX, for instance, 500 million TVL is big, but it's not big, right? I come from a world where you work in business units that are multiple billions, and so yeah, ultimately Foxify is really again the product of trying to understand why something hasn't reached its full potential in decentralized trading. And Foxify solves problem number one, which others do, which is that it's fully decentralized.
Now recording.
It's decentralized. And that means you don't have to trust another party with your funds. But number two is actually user experience, which is we all forget once we've been in DeFi for a while. But that transition from CeFi to DeFi is extremely difficult, very hard for people to get their head around, very convoluted. And I've got a friend going through it right now. He messaged me today saying, is there somewhere where I can just set an order to buy Bitcoin at the level that I want it rather than having to watch the chart? These are things that we just completely take for granted when you're completely new within the industry. And ultimately, Foxify delivers a CeFi experience that's very easy to use on top of a DeFi infrastructure. And that's really where it comes from. The other question, or the other solution that Foxify solves, is a question of scalability. Almost every successful decentralized trading platform to date has been just a perps DEX, either a copy of GMX or some other derivative, excuse the pun. And so thinking about that, and we come up with Foxify peer-to-peer options. And that was actually our first innovation. We added perpetuals because it's a proven market and it strategically makes sense to have something that's proven alongside something that's very innovative.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me go ahead and just mute. I think the person did mute. What was that?
Yeah, so that's okay.
Okay, cool. So Danny, yeah, from a high level overview, I appreciate you going through all of that. So you'd say Foxify is really the middleman trying to bring traditional CeFi people into the DeFi space. Where's the project located? I know different countries have different rules, and it sounds like you're from the UK. Is this a project based out of the UK, or where did you guys base it out of?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not based out of the UK. So we're registered in British Virgin Islands.
Okay.
Yeah, so out in the Caribbean.
Are you having trouble getting connections or links with banks to service you guys, or is that not an issue for you guys?
No, it's not an issue. Some of the biggest exchanges are based in places. OKX, I think, is Seychelles.
Yeah.
I think the biggest exchanges are based in places like Cayman Islands, Seychelles. Even organisations being registered in Belize is becoming quite common.
Gotcha. And you guys did build this on top of Arbitrum, correct?
Correct, yeah. We obviously haven't launched yet. We launch in June. We've got our liquidity raise for the perps DEX and a bit of a pre-sale and a few other things to go before we get there. But yeah, we're building on Arbitrum. Arbitrum is more than 30% of their TVL is decentralized trading platforms. So it's
perfect,
it is a proven stomping ground. There's a huge amount of liquidity. It's an amazing team, by the way. I can tell you behind the scenes. There's one thing in this space people don't do enough is tell you what it's really like. And I'm quite vocal about the tough stuff. But a real positive, arbitrary, spent a short amount of time with them, look at what we're trying to build, and it's just obvious that you build on their chain.
Great. No, hey, let me bring in Gabe. Gabe, I know you had some questions you wanted to ask. You want to go ahead and maybe ask a few of those, and then I can get back to my side?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll jump in here and
Great, brother.
definitely want to preface by some of these questions may be a little difficult, but definitely they're kind-hearted and obviously just trying to get the best information we can. So can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the origins of Foxify? Do you guys have any VCs? Do you guys have any angel investors? That kind of stuff. I did my due diligence on you guys, and I saw that you guys were recently at Consensus, I believe. You guys were at the Instable conference, and then I don't know if you're going to BTC Miami, but I just say those kind of things are expensive. So I guess how are you guys funding these things, or do you guys have investors already, or what's that situation like?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, and none of this would be possible without MDB, because the playbook typically is either you're very lucky to get VC funding very early, which is difficult in this market, but even for, and I'll be honest, I've been on a bit of a learning curve with this. I think we were far too early trying to raise VC money, when in truth it's much easier to raise VC money when your product is already launched, and that's the nature of the beast. But that aside, we do have a track record and a history. We do have sort of private investment, VC interest, even foundations looking at us as well. In addition to that, we have MDB, and MDB with the full support of the community, and it's very rarely that you would see an organisation say, you know what, we're going to put a lot of our resources into something else, and MDB has committed $1 million to the expansion of Foxify, which gives us a huge edge, right? Most people build a platform, launch it, and then go out and try and find their customers and hope they make enough money on the journey to keep running, whereas we've been able to be very aggressive, be really ahead of the curve in terms of our strategy and go to market, because of that support of MDB. And really some of that comes from our experience within the space. We designed a protocol that depends on its investments in others. And quite frankly, probably the hardest thing about the last year has been the lack of performance when we've invested or trusted others within this space. When we've invested in ourselves and backed ourselves, then we've always delivered, actually, and delivered enough that it's overcome the amount of times that we've either been tucked up or let down by somebody else in this industry. So the big learning, you sit back at the end of the year and you say, what big things have to change if we're really going to make it? And actually, number one on that list was stop investing in other people and invest more in ourselves.
Yeah, and before Gabe continues, sorry, Gabe, just real quick, I wanted to point out, guys, also MDB is one of the very few projects that did launch and made it through the year of 2022, and that does go to show you that the team is doing what they say they're going to do. They did build a great community, and I would imagine some of that community is very interested in Foxify, right? It's nice to launch a project, but when you already have a very good stable base of people that really like one of the products you've already put out, that really does help when you do get a Foxify launch. You have all of those people that might be interested in getting into this next project you guys are rolling out. Sorry, Gabe, I'll throw it back to you. I just wanted to add that for people that might know the history.
It's a great point. I'd love to add to that, because it's a very rational space, and that swings both ways. When things are slightly negative, it goes dark very quickly in this industry. You don't get that in a normal business. You don't get like Discord arguments and people losing their minds and stuff. And when you have like maybe a couple of bad weeks worth of sale, whereas in this industry you do. But the opposite applies. When there is optimism and there is belief and there is confidence, and that's another thing that certainly MDB, I think, it brings into the situation for Foxify.
Definitely. Okay. So then to follow up on the MDB situation, so you said they pledged, or I guess gave you guys $1 million, and then it sounds like you have other investors on the back end, possibly VCs. Sorry, go ahead.
I said indeed.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. So then, I guess what is that agreement like? Is it that they're going to get tokens and that they're vested over time, or I guess what is that, or can we get any of those details, or is that still trying to get, I guess, worked out?
No, look, I think this is really important, right? Because I think what MDB has done for Foxify is something that no one else would ever do, right?
Absolutely.
No product, long way out, making a huge commitment, and like I say, the community and the people that have been super supportive of that, and so in return, obviously, MDB receives multiple millions worth of Foxify tokens, enough that it's extremely lucrative for MDB, which is only fair considering them making a move and making a commitment that no other individual was, quite frankly, that early on, which has made all of this possible. But at the same time, nowhere near enough to certainly be in any sort of negative or hindrance on Foxify as an ecosystem. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So then moving on to the next question. So a little bit about the team. So I think based on my research here, I went on LinkedIn and looked around. So it looks like a few of you guys have worked together already on previous startups, and I'm guessing MDB. So could you maybe tell us just a quick summary about the team? And then I want to focus on actually two of the, what are these called? Sorry. Two of the, I'm blanking on their names. I want to say board members. That's not the name for them. Sorry. Let me look it up here.
Strategic advisors.
Yes, thank you. The strategic advisors, because I think they were very interesting. One more in particular than the other, and that's all respect. No offense. I just found one way more interesting. So could you tell us a little bit about the team?
Yeah. Who did you find super interesting? Was it Tuan?
Yes, Tuan. I think I saw that he had a background in trading, quantitative analysis, trading, AI, and machine learning. And so, no disrespect to Massimo. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. But it just, when you see someone with that kind of background, it definitely is very interesting. I'll let you start off with the team, and then maybe you can tell us about Tuan and their involvement on the project.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Tuan would never listen into it. I don't think he would ever be listening in. He's a beautiful human being as well as extremely intelligent and very talented. But yeah, so in terms of the team, I think most people know me, and you can dig through my LinkedIn profile if you want to understand my history. We've got our CMO, somebody that many people know within the industry, which is Alice, who's got a broad experience across. She's run her own e-commerce business, an online e-commerce business. She's also been a niche influencer, although, yeah, she's a little bit embarrassed about some of that stuff because she doesn't like being in the centre of attention, and an accomplished marketer with a lot of sales experience as well. In terms of other members of the team, like our CTO Alex is just an absolute machine, like super professional. Almost everybody in our team actually has run their own business or run an organisation in some form or another. So we've got Alex, who's developed numerous high profile projects. When you scratch the surface and go deeper with him when you've got time, he's been involved in some really interesting things within the space, as well as having bundles and bundles of enterprise level experience and a super talented organisation at his disposal as well. We've got then Harley, who actually works for a government organisation actually in the US, and has also set up his own sort of not-for-profit NGO as well, so led organisations and people, real operational talent. We also have Frio as well, who has many people will know him anyway from the MDB community. A lot of the people that are around us have been with us throughout all of this. Extremely loyal, extremely talented, extremely committed people. And then we've got Rachel as well, who's come on board recently, and she's head of the affiliate program. We've got other people, we've got researchers, business developers, a chap called Caleb, and then we've got two very interesting. We've actually got another strategic advisor. He's probably less active day to day. He's been involved in multiple $billion raises, sat on the board to multiple companies and so on. And there's another technical advisor we have as well. But the two that you see on the website, one, Massimo, so he was, I think that before I go into who those individuals are, the logic behind it, I always think whenever you're doing anything, I like to do things that's a really steep learning curve, but that also means that you're going to find a lot of unknown unknowns on that journey as well, and you need people that understand that. Many of the people that I've already mentioned have that, definitely. Massimo I think he was the country manager for Hubi in France, now runs a successful sort of sales, marketing, development and PR agency that's focused on crypto, has been involved in multiple successful raises and expansions of businesses. I think Massimo's actually he's going to do a podcast with Alice on the Foxify channel in a couple of weeks' time. I'm not sure, Tuan's quite shy, so I'm not sure if he'd want to do it, but he would be a super great person to have it on there. And Tuan, I think 10 years Associate General, quant or HFT, low latency, algorithmic trading expert, was head of trading desk for them in Hong Kong, and now runs his own sort of low latency sort of arbitrage fund out of Switzerland, Zug in Switzerland. When you talk to him, he's got Lake Zurich behind him, but he looks like a very happy man. He looks like he lives next to a lake and he hasn't got any kids. He looks super, super happy. So yeah, we've got a really talented team.
Wonderful. Thank you for that background. Okay, so then going into the next part, and I guess this kind of jumps back into part of the team, but it's a little bit more about, I guess, the affiliate marketing and obviously, for lack of a better word, the superstar that you guys have on board with the team. So obviously I saw, and many of us have seen, obviously you guys have Tyson Fury. I saw someone mention it in the message here. So could you tell us a little bit about maybe that connection maybe why you decided to pick him out of many superstars out there, and then tell us a little bit about the affiliate program. I know that's going on in regards to teams, and then maybe cap it off with the NFT situation you guys got going on. I know there's a lot there. One, obviously, how to get them. Maybe sum it up real quick. One, how to get them. Two, I know there was an issue that you guys had. Maybe if you want to just highlight that real quick, but I'll stop there and then let you talk.
Cool. Yeah. Struggling to remember all of those questions, but I think so. Number one,
I can remind you. Yeah, no worries. Right? Yeah. Tyson Fury. Why'd you guys pick him? Maybe how you guys got involved with him and why him?
Okay, brilliant. Recite the Bible word for word in 3 minutes. But so Tyson Fury. So it's interesting actually because I think it's such a find, but we really did profile him, and there's a couple of things there. Some of it's like personality-wise. If you think about him from a global reach, boxing is a sport that not everybody in every country is mad about, but there is exposure in every country globally, and that's a very different dynamic to, say, an NFL star or somebody's maybe plays for a Spanish football team or something like that. Yeah, so I think you get this like much broader reach from a slightly more mature audience. Saying we're old when you do that, and typically people that are 30 typically have more money than people that are 20, so that's a good target audience. In terms of the individual as well, we can see Tyson spent very open. He's been on our live streams. We'll have future live streams with him as well. He's been very open around his own struggles around mental health and things like that, despite from the outside looking like you're completely at the top of your game. It's one day you're there and it's just your world, and he's struggled, and so they're very committed to doing things that are ethical. And if you look at our story, the whole make DeFi better thing, coming through a bear market where most things died around us, and we saved many people's bags actually in the last year, and then ultimately wanting to launch a decentralized trading platform which takes away that sort of existential risk of your platform going bust. So it was a bit of a story that we were able to pitch them. The fact that we had this history behind us with a chart when everything else died, that was very positive also helped. So yes, as a background, there's no sort of, like, people often say, do you know him, or there's no personal connection. In truth, there's many boxers where I've watched many of their fights and Tyson isn't. I've watched a lot of his fights, in fact. So there's not like a fanboy thing there at all. We kind of profiled him, picked him out, and then grafted until he gave in.
And then the question that I hate to wind you up for, but obviously, did you guys have to pay him, or I guess obviously is he incentivized as well as other investors?
Of course, people worked extremely hard on them, and if you want to extract value from somebody in exchange, then there has to be an exchange the other way.
Absolutely. Okay. So then the second question I had for you, and that's 10 Hail Marys because you didn't remember the Bible. I'm just joking. The next one I had for you was the affiliate program, how that works. I mean, I know like you can make teams, things of that nature. What's the idea behind that passive income idea?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because affiliate typically has a bit of an MM edge to it, doesn't it? It's, you're trying to push something down someone else's throat for your own benefit. There's a very like pure reason why we've gone down the affiliate route with Foxify, and that's because of the peer-to-peer element. So on our options, it's a very unique options model. Options in DeFi just haven't worked, right? There's one organization that's got a bit of volume. People have tried to replicate basically the purpose model where you have sort of a central pool and you have an options vault, I think it's typically called, within DeFi. We haven't spent that much time researching it, to be honest, because we can just see it doesn't work. So you have an options vault, and then you have a traditional option system that sits on top of it. But I would say options is a bit like someone who isn't British trying to watch cricket for the first time. Or I should say someone who isn't British, Australian, Indian, or from a Commonwealth country trying to watch cricket for the first time. There's a lot of jargon. It's very difficult for people to understand. And our options model is peer-to-peer. And it really puts people head to head, and it creates this very unique dynamic, both around affiliates and also influencers. So rather than just speculating on the future value of an asset by buying an option, you can also fund an option and you can set the rate for that option, and then you can promote it. But when you're promoting it, you're not saying do what I do, right? It's not like copy trading, or you're not an influencer saying, hey, follow me and I'm going to make money off you. You can go out to your audience and say, I will give you a 3x if ETH moves plus 1% in 4 hours. Come and take my money. It's a very different, very provocative, and then that feeds into teams, and it feeds into competitions and a lot of community engagement. So it creates almost like a gamification element to options, and it fits really nicely in with KOL strategy, affiliate, and that is ultimately strategically the driver for that strategy.
Absolutely. Okay. And then rolling off of that, because I think it's a little bit affiliated, is the NFTs. So can you tell us a little bit about those and how do we get them? And then I think there was a little bit of a hiccup on the recent release. I don't know if you want to touch upon that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're free NFTs, and you can mint a gold, which will get you 25% off of fees, a silver, which will get you 10%, or a bronze. And you can exchange 5 bronze for a silver. They'll be limited in supply. Golds are very rare. There's 1 in 100, and then the silvers are 5 in 100. So very difficult to get. There's 4 waves, or at least 4 waves. We think it'll be done in 4. And the second wave actually is going to complete tomorrow, because we started it on Friday. We've had a bit of a technical hiccup, and we'll complete that tomorrow. And then the following 2 waves will happen before we launch. Ultimately, you have to be in an affiliate team. When you're in the affiliate team, then you can mint. It doesn't cost anything. You get a free NFT, and if you want, you can just mint it on the open market, or you can hold on to it and use it for discounts, or try and accumulate more bronze to get that silver. We did have a hiccup on Friday, quite unfortunate, because you get many hiccups within businesses, and I think we had a bit of a hiccup on the first NFT mint, which was resolved very quickly. It didn't cause any major issues. It was just some of the images were slightly off, and then they were corrected very quickly. But that was really driven by not so much development. That's probably us pushing too fast and too quickly operationally. And so we said, okay, we sat back, and as a team, we were really mature and we were really self-critical. And then we come to a conclusion that will take a little bit longer, and we'll make sure that we're absolutely fine. And actually, I was sat in bed thinking, I've had a long week in Istanbul, I'm just going to do this mint and then I'm going to go to sleep. And then after about 100 mints, it stopped. There was problems. And it turned out there's only one randomizer you can use on the Arbitrum network. Chainlink don't have a randomizer for NFT mints on, and the one we were using, they've minted 120,000, no issues, and their smart contract just failed about 100 into our mint. Obviously, a bit of investigation by the following morning. It was crystal clear what the issue was, and so our team has been building their own version actually, and so we'll complete the mint tomorrow.
Has any of the stuff been audited, like the contracts for the NFT or the future NFT that you guys are now building? Have you guys was there an audit before you guys released the NFTs, and now are you guys thinking of auditing this contract now before you go ahead and sell more or mint more NFTs, let's say?
It wasn't our contract, by the way. That failed. It's a third-party service, but it's an on-chain service. So it's imagine like Chainlink, right?
Yeah.
They're smart contracts that are running. So the failure was completely outside of our control. It was tested. There was nothing we could do. It was just one of those things. And actually, it did 6 hours after the failure. It did pick back, and it looks to be working okay now. We just don't want to carry that third-party risk after what happened. But there is no risk of loss other than you might pay gas if there was an issue. And an NFT is certainly going to be worth more than the gas. No, we're not going to pay for a substantial audit, considering the team and the experience they've got, for something that's free.
Got it. No, I totally understand that. And then I read or through somebody heard that the NFT mint is it free, or is it charged per mint? Or
it's free. It's free.
Completely.
And you can mint every way if you want.
And in order to mint for free, what are the steps that you need to go through to be able to do that?
So you have to tell me that I look younger than Crypto Sensor, and you get on the whitelist immediately.
You look younger than me, man. You got it. You win.
I do not. If I did, I'd be buzzing. But thank you, by the way, but I do not. So a couple of things you can do. So you can, I think it might be full now actually. For a while, you could invite 5 people to the Foxify server, and that got your whitelist, very simple. Or we've got a Zeely campaign running, and it's been hugely successful. So you just have to jump through a couple of social hoops, follow our Twitter, post something on Twitter, and a couple of other hoops that you need to jump through, and you earn it's like this token called XP. Once you've got over a certain amount of XP, then you can fill out your wallet into a form, and then you add it to the whitelist. So tiny amount of work for potentially something that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars.
Gotcha. No, that's fantastic. And when is the next release coming or happening?
So we will complete Wave 2 tomorrow, albeit when that whitelist is now closed. But Wave 3 whitelist is already open, so you can join our Discord and go to the Zeely campaign, fill your boots, and you'll be on the whitelist for next time. Although it's going to get harder, by the way. Like the first one, everyone can mint. This one, most people can mint. So we say get in early. You can't get into Wave 2 now, but Wave 3 is going to be hard, and Wave 4 is going to be really tough. So if you're interested and you want to get in, so I think it's been a bit like, oh, it's free, it's okay, anyone can get one. But they have the potential to be super valuable, so you want to move quickly.
I did, when I was speaking with Alice, that she said that there would be maybe a few free NFT, free whitelist giveaways for our members here in the community. So I guess we'll talk about that on the side. I do have a recording of all the members that are in the chat, and we can talk about that on the side. But let's also talk about the tokenomics, right? There's appears to be two different tokens in the community, or did I read that wrong? Could we go over that?
Yeah, so Foxify has two tokens.
Yep.
One is just a redemption token for
Yep.
providing liquidity. So that's not something that you would trade on the open market. If anyone's familiar with like other similar models, you provide liquidity to the perps pool and you get, we call it PLP, so it's Perps Liquidity Pool Token in return, which is an ETF actually that holds Bitcoin, ETH stable, and about 7.5% of our native token Foxify. That's the first token, but that is purely for providing liquidity, and then that liquidity pool then earns a substantial share of all of the perpetuals trading fees.
Gotcha. And then the Opta. Oh, were you going to say something? My apologies. Okay, really quickly, do you want to go over OptaTrade technology creating CeFi experience? Is this OptaTrade? Is this what you guys have built? Is this your own technology and this is what everything's running on? Or can you explain that a little bit better?
Yeah, so OptaTrade is short for Optimal Trading Experience, and that's us recognizing that UX is the number 2 barrier, right? Or the number 2 problem of traders. Number 1 being risk of insolvency, the platform they're using. Number 3, like I can hear people saying, what about fees? When you survey a large number of traders, actually fees comes in a slight third, and second is user experience. And OptaTrade is a technology stack rather than one piece of technology. And ultimately, it provides a CeFi experience on top of DeFi infrastructure. So I can create an account with my Gmail, for instance. I can then create a wallet through a third-party service, so we have no access to anyone's seed phrases or anything like that. So it's a self-custody wallet creation using ERC 4337, and then the user can have this very seamless experience. You can off-ramp on the platform using similar third-party services that people like OKX and other major exchanges would use, and then you can select a gasless transaction experience, which there's obviously gas on Arbitrum, which means that the smart contract has then permission to pay the gas for you. It's paying gas whilst you transact, and then it just deducts it from your balance. And then you can off-ramp on the platform as well. So the whole experience should feel like really landing on a centralized exchange, but you've got that trust and security of DeFi underneath it.
No, I love that.
Okay.
I'll go for a game.
I wanted to jump in here because I read about that, and that was something that stuck out to me too. Because I think I hate to get technical here, and I don't know it very well, but I read that it's gasless. Is that kind of what you meant by the gasless part, or?
We maybe need to. I suppose there's so many places now. It almost feels embarrassing to change it, but it's a gasless experience.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because I read that, and then I saw mentions of ERC 4337. Started reading on the abstraction layer a little bit, nerding out, and then I was just like, interesting. But it's a little over my head. I don't know the technology and the ERC, I guess, technology that will obviously beyond the basics of the stuff that everyone knows about. So I had a little questions there about gasless. Okay, but it makes a little bit more sense. Not necessarily gasless, but to your point, if you're trading on Coinbase or whatever, it includes the fees in your trading. So that makes sense. Okay.
And let's talk, while we're on trading, let's talk about trading fees.
And then I guess to follow up that, sorry, because there was a bit of awkward silence, but I think you guys mentioned that you're building a wallet as well, and I think that's going to be interfaced with the exchange. Is that correct?
No, there's no wallet.
There's no wallet. Okay, I thought I had read that you're doing a sign up via email. That kind of there's a wallet.
Yeah, but there's no wallet.
It's not a wallet. Okay.
It's a self-custody wallet. 4337 is really interesting because it works in many different areas within our platform. So it works within the user experience. You can only have the gasless experience because of 4337. It's not possible on any other protocols. You can only give the blockchain permission to create a wallet for you using 4337, but it also pops up again later on in the options. So I love this, by the way. I think sometimes you can be guilty of being a fanboy of your own sort of platform, but this I think is really different. So imagine with the options where I said that you can fund an option. The problem with say ERC20 for instance is that you have to use some sort of service to trigger a function, so like a market order or like a stop loss or something like that. The blockchain, you can't give the blockchain permission to trigger that for you. You have to use a third-party service. So even all of these 95 perp dexes out there, all of them are relying on some sort of independent some off-chain service to execute those things. With our option, you fund the option. I could say I'm going to put $100,000 on ETH moving 1% in 4 hours, and I'll give anyone a 2x. And anyone can take me on in $5 increments from $5 to $500, whatever. And I can just leave that, and I can choose a setting to auto compound all of my liquidity that I gain back into the option. So say for instance in the first month, my 100,000, I could lose 10,000 but gain 30. So if I've auto compounded, I would now have $120,000 available on that option, because it's just repumping the liquidity back into it, because 4337 allows you to give permission to the blockchain to do that for you. And so I love it. It's super interesting. It's almost like a mix of trading and farming all in one, because you can look, I don't want to hustle trying to trade. I don't want to buy options and try and predict them. But you know what? I'm prepared to put liquidity on an option, set my level of risk, and then just walk away. And if I've got my numbers right, then it should accumulate liquidity. But obviously, there's risk on the downside as well.
Absolutely, right? That's trading. So, and then my last question for you, and then I will leave it to Crypto Sensei for his last remarks, because you've been wonderful. And again, thank you for taking my barrage of questions.
When do the hard questions come in?
Oh man, I already went through them. You're not sweating already?
Easy.
It's about the launch. Are you guys going to do a launch pad? Is it going to be a public launch? Or is everyone going to be able to buy a pre-sale? Or how do we get in if we want to jump into Foxify? Obviously, we have the NFT portion, and we'd love giveaways. I just wanted to throw it out there. We always love giveaways in the community. If you guys like doing a giveaway for us, that'd be wonderful. But also, if we wanted to jump in on the token, right? Because I think the token is going to have a lot of value in regards to staking, and I believe LP. I read a lot about that on the website as well. But let's say we want to jump in. Is there going to be an opportunity for pre-sale, or is it going to be a little bit more of a closed launch? Or I guess what's the idea with the date coming up in June here?
Yeah, look, I think if you're holding like stables, Bitcoin, ETH, like blue chips and stables, I personally, if it was me, not financial advice, if I was talking to myself, then I would give myself financial advice to I would just put it all into the perps liquid pool, because it will probably earn 0.3 to 0.4% a day estimated, and you earn in blue chips and stables. And so that portion of my portfolio, that's what I would do personally. And then what I would do is I would be looking out for the Foxify token itself personally, assuming I'm not a trader, right? Obviously, I think options trading offers a brilliant opportunity to be a maker and also a taker. And then obviously perps is perps, and everybody knows how to work with that. But the token we're negotiating with 5 different dexes across the Arbitrum at the moment. So you will see the Foxify brand. Minimum, hand on heart, I'll say now, I'll be shocked if it's not minimum 4 different places when we launch, potentially 5 or 6. We will also launch on central exchanges, looking like potentially 2 central exchanges that we will launch on, as well as having sort of incentivized pools. And in terms of pre-sale, we're being a little bit hawkish with pre-sale, because we don't want to create sort of a pump and dump scenario. It is a trading platform utility that delivers revenue, but we will probably do a couple of small pre-sales. I don't envisage us doing a pre-sale any more than 500k, which I think, yeah, it doesn't sound arrogant. I'm pretty sure you'd have to be quick, I think. So there will be that opportunity. And then we're thinking of a way that actually, can we open up the VC side to normal people, but they get the same sort of terms where they can invest, but then they get vested tokens over 12 months. We're just thinking about maybe a way that we could do that, maybe through an NFT or something.
Yeah, talking about vesting, so I did look at that. It's over 12 months, but you release some tokens per month, or did I not read that correctly?
Yeah, look, I think in terms we haven't announced anything in terms of any sort of pre-sale investment or anything like that. But if we do, the strong preference will be for the vast majority of it it'll be linearly vested. So i.e., it would pay out monthly over a 12-month period. That's the thinking. I don't want to give it all away. We're thinking about an NFT that maybe gives a bit of upside and then pays out sort of dollar value equivalent at launch price in 12 monthly chunks, and then maybe retains the 20% for life or something staked. So yeah, we're considering a couple of ideas, because we're sensing that the demand is pretty significant. People keep asking us that question, and we've been pretty hawkish today. And I think as long as we're very sensible, because we do not want this like whitelist flipping pre-sale pump and dump sort of situation, then if we do something, it'll be in a very mature and measured way.
No, I like that. Yeah, because anytime you have a bunch of people buying pre-sale and if the tokens are not vested, they're just going to sell into the initial pump, and then we're going to have that flatline scenario where the project trades sideways. What have you guys done as far as marketing and planning over the next 3 to 6 months? What is the community looking forward to? What are you guys working on outside of kind of what we've already talked about? What are we looking forward to?
Yeah, so apart from doing events in different countries, signing a global top 20 athlete, having a fully fledged affiliate program, and we'll be doing PR, we'll be present on minimum 4, maybe 5 or 6 different places in the market, listed on 2 different exchanges. And we have lots in the works in terms of influencer networking, KOLs as well. Yeah, we've got our strategy is 200 million eyes on the brand. We've also got a very trading focused strategy as well. And the big question is, who is your customer? Where is your customer? And then making sure you've got the content, you put that content in the right place for those to see it. That is also a strategy that's less DeFi or degen-ish that is also underway. I suppose there's always a bit of a waiting game because you don't want to fire all of your shots, and people can't convert. It's a sort of marketing 101 that people see the brand and are able to engage with the product. And so there's always like there's a question of building momentum and then the timing question. We've got other things, right? Part of our deal with Tyson Fury includes fight kit sponsorship. So our sort of like strategy is 200 million eyes on the brand in the next 6 months.
No, that's huge, man. And so talk to us. So the people that are not interested in trading 50x leverage, the people that are really more conservative on the DeFi side, just buying and holding the Foxify token, that would probably, not financial advice obviously, because none of us here are financial advisors, but do you think that's probably the best and most easiest basic way to get involved with the project? Or is there going to be staking involved for the Foxify token? Walk us through the bottom of the bear.
Yeah, so sorry if this wasn't very clear. You stake the Foxify token and you earn a share of trading fees. So it's a little bit convoluted because most people just have a perpetuals liquidity pool and that earns a share of fees and the rest go off to the token or whatever the team's going to do with it. We obviously have 2 feeds. We've got options on one side and we've got perpetuals on the other. Whatever doesn't go into the perps pool, you've got options plus perps pool that then goes into a master pot. And then after you've paid out like rewards and incentives, everything else goes into the staking pool. The business itself actually earns its income from the same staking pool as everybody else. So destinies are 100% aligned. And so you can buy the Foxify token, you stake it, and it will pay you about 50% stake and it will pay you 50% native. And you can also check an auto stake button if you wanted, and it will take your earnings and put it straight into the perps LP, which would then earn you Bitcoin, ETH, stable, and a little bit of Foxify. So there's a real, like, it's worth reading the white paper. There's a real sort of like flywheel effect.
Yeah.
Like I say, if you got a big bag of like blue chips and stables, then I would put it in the perps LP. And if you're looking to buy a token and hold it and stake it, then the Foxify token is definitely the way.
I wanted to follow up on something that we spoke about earlier when you and Gabe were talking. You guys talked about MDB buying $1 million worth or giving $1 million worth. Are those going to be direct tokens back to the MDB team in Foxify? And if so, are you guys going to use that for voting power and governance going forward?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think about 60% of supply is actually owned by the Foxify business itself. And obviously MDB being a very early and by far the largest investor in the protocol so far as a single investor, needs a return for that investment. So MDB, stands to do very well from the success, but is also taking more risk than anybody else as well.
And also too, in your white paper, you guys talk about education, right? Education really is everything, and being able to help somebody that has no idea what they're doing, be able to onboard them into, how's the education center going? Is it built out already? Can people start getting in there, learning and growing inside of that, or is that still being built out currently?
It's being built out. Our plan is to have the Academy live before launch. The Academy will be a store of content. I can't remember the number. Maybe Alice will put it in the chat. It was something like, we started off saying we're going to do 70 pieces of content, which is written, promotional, educational, infographic. I think it's now like 120, 140 pieces of content that will be available within the library. And there'll also be an auditorium. People like yourself, actually, you're a great speaker and advocate for responsible trading. You can come and do a session in our auditorium and share thoughts, ideas and hints and tips with the community. And in addition, we will be the first, and it blows my mind, there is 95 perp dexes on DeFi Llama, and I believe we'll be the first decentralized trading platform to have a paper trading platform in the Academy as well.
That's pretty crazy, man. It sounds like you guys really have the plan set up. You definitely have the community set up behind you. Let me just start muting some people that came in, and I'm hearing some like slurpy stuff. Let me get back to some questions here.
It's just Alice.
What was that?
I said it's just Alice.
Yeah, no, I got you, brother. I got you. Has it been easy? Are you bringing MDB Partners over to Foxify? I would think that's a pretty easy, not easy, but you definitely have your foot in the door already with all of these other premium partners. Excuse me, how many of these partners are we expected to come over and support the Foxify build and the Foxify team?
I think we have to be like brutally. MDB has been proven to work fantastically well. I think that is because of the design. It's also because of the resilience of the team. Some of that's the environment. I think the environment has been very difficult, and we've done well, and that can have a very positive impact. In addition, we've had lots of innovations that it's impossible to recreate, like Gravity, for instance. I think Gravity has pushed probably somewhere in the region of 1.5, maybe much more $1 million worth of volume through our token. And we're still sort of 10 million market cap. As a 10% in, 15% out tax token on BSC, it's very difficult to take that without building very specific utility that's going to drive revenue. It's probably quite difficult to take that in this market to another 10, 200x or whatever very quickly. And the reason I'm sharing that is because we were very honest with ourselves. Look, we can't do what we did with MDB and expect to get a different result. It's a different audience. We're trying to build a Web3. We want to build with the options model that we've got. It opens us up to commodities, forex, stocks, indexes. Compliance aside, as long as we jump through those hoops in time, then the world is our oyster, and we can build a Web3 giant that's a competitor to eToro, Robinhood, and all of those monsters that are out there. And that's way bigger than even crypto. We've been challenging ourselves from the very beginning to not just take what MDB does. Actually, we've got all of the experience, learning, community, and resources that have been given to us by MDB. But we've got to think everything we do, we've got to think like 1,000x what we've ever done, and that's what we've been challenging ourselves to do.
Yeah. So talk to me. Where do you see Foxify in a year from now? What's the grand plan? I know when I was setting up Cryptonaires, I was looking at where am I going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? What's my end goal? What am I trying to build here towards the end? And where do you see that? Where do you see Foxify in a year from now, 5 years from now? What are you guys working towards? I know you guys have a lot of cool, great products that you're putting out right now, but really, do you have those 3 and 5 year goals and what you're trying to achieve?
It's a great question, and my goals are always much shorter, to be honest. You can look at my CV, and even when the longest I've ever been in one company was 4 years, and I did 2 jobs for 2 years each. I'm not somebody who likes to sit around. I like to make things happen very quickly, and our goal is actually for Foxify to move much more quickly than that. It's 5 years out in this industry would be far too pedestrian in my view. So where do we want to be? And really our strategy is to hit the ground, is to really shake things up in terms of the industry that we're in, and then expand extremely aggressively. And as long as we're delivering sort of the fee generation and the volume that we hope to, then expansion across crypto is very much around the marketing and deployment machine. That's the big question. We've built a technology and a model that is much more scalable than perpetuals alone. And what I mean by that is you're not beholden to a liquidity pool, and if you add something new or a new token, you're not diluting that liquidity pool. But you do need flow, and so you need makers and takers on each side of the options order book. So the technology is built to be able to list any pair. That doesn't mean you're going to list every pair, right? What you're going to do is target volume, large communities, and if we want to launch Doge, we can do that. We don't need anybody's agreement. We don't need the Doge Foundation on board to do it. And we can go out and we can market to the 3 million Doge holders for 6 weeks, and then we can launch it. And it's on us to make sure that there's traction on the platform, there's volume, there's users, and then there's flow. If we nail that process, then we just keep repeating that process, and we keep expanding, and then we expand beyond crypto, and we run through. That's where you really got to think about compliance. And I think that's where probably some tweaking of your strategy and how you're going to market is absolutely necessary. And then you can add more mainstream things like commodities and stocks, because all of these things have a token, right? So you're able to track them on chain, and then you become very disruptive within mainstream trading, because mainstream trading has lots of the similar issues and concerns of even centralized trading organizations within crypto. So that's the goal, and that's where we want to go.
Gotcha, man. I love that. Thank you so much. KPK actually had a question. He says, Are there Foxify revenue projections for MDB? I don't know how you want to answer that, but I'm wondering if he's asking for projections for Foxify. I don't know how. Can you see his question?
I think I know what you mean.
Okay.
He's saying, so what's the ROI? What do you expect the ROI to be for MDB from its Foxify investment? And look, I think our goal is to be above 100 million in volume as soon as humanly possible, and that would deliver an income of probably 3 to 4 million a year for MDB if it stopped there. Our sort of mid-term goal is to get above $250,000 a day in fees, gross fees for the platform, and then long, we want to deliver multiple millions, and we want to 10x anything that's happened before us. What that works out to for MDB is obviously pretty significant, and any other investor in Foxify. Hopefully that gives a hint. I think you've got to shoot for the moon every time.
I love that, man. Shoot for the moon every time. I know you've done several other AMAs, and I know everyone has a different style and different questions. Has there been another question from a different AMA that you felt that's important maybe to bring up here today as we get a couple more questions from the audience?
Oh, that's a really good question. I tell you who did. I remember Cardinal House, bless them, because they're only about 11, and they asked some really good questions, considering they're still at school. And it was, they asked them. There was a brilliant interview that they had, but I can't remember any of them.
No worries, man. No worries. We'll wait for the audience to come with a question here. Let me just go back through all of what I have to make sure that I haven't missed anything as well. But it does sound like you guys are working. We don't have the exact date, right, for launch yet. I'm just trying to triple verify that. There's not like a June 12th or June 14th or whatever, but you're hoping June or July.
No, it definitely won't be June 12th. We'll probably be beta. Will be around that time. Okay. And we'll be looking to get launch done before the end of the month, before the end of June.
Gotcha. Let me see here. Bird said, what will be the phasing of the launch? Will there be different phases? Is it just going to just drop randomly? How's that going to work?
Depends. Do you mean launch of token or launch of the platform? We've got, so our options alpha, which is real alpha, will be already is 15 days away. So I had a meeting with our CTO today, and we're going to have our options is going to be with us. We're going to meet actually in person in London on the 30th of May, and we will have our first clickable working sort of application on the 30th of May. We'll be looking to then push it out to a beta within sort of week 10 days of that. Perps is coming slightly behind it, and so it's slightly phased, but we're looking to have like both beta out by middle of June and then full launch by the end of June.
Gotcha.
The token will launch around the end of June, albeit the liquidity token, the PLP, will need to kick off the campaign for the PLP in the next few weeks.
Okay, No Filler actually did have a question. He says, if you guys have a very successful launch, the next step from the roadmap wise that you could tell us past June. I guess he's asking if you guys are kicking ass and taking names in the market, what is your next big step once you guys do establish a very good following, a very good baseline, and maybe some good liquidity in there? I guess he's asking what is like the most important next step there after you guys achieve that.
Yeah. I think I'm really looking forward to this, right? Because I'm looking forward to talking about fundamentals rather than a roadmap is like a measure of success in this industry, rather than results. And no disrespect to you, by the way, No Filler, but that's just me frustrated with the industry. And actually, what we'll be looking at is how many users are using the platform, what's our volume, and what fees are we making. And that's what's really important. And everything that we do drives towards that. And then we expand. The listings on the platform will constantly keep innovating. There's a lot of ideas that we've got, but ultimately it's a very innovative platform. Someone like GMX has been running since 2021 with a smidge of the capability that we're going to deliver, and the market that's out there for the product that we're bringing, certainly when you consider the limitless potential of what you can list on the platform, is astronomical. It's the daily forex market is more than all of crypto annually. It's crazy. So are
you talking about the FX market, 6 to 7 trillion a day?
It's just insane, isn't it? So maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's more in a month than the whole of crypto annually. But it's just or maybe it's a week.
No, if you're doing 6 to 7 trillion a day and you're talking about actually 4 hours worth or 5 hours worth, because the crypto market's 1 trillion. No worries, brother. Let me see if there's anything else from here. Sharon says the industry needs that kind of criticism Tired of roadmaps that don't make, it says don't make it 10 steps from the start. Yeah, and guys, remember also too, right, this is partial from the team from MDB. They have been in the space, they have been making promises, and they have been successful in reading those roadmap and those goals, right? So that's a very important part to think about here, right? We're not dealing with a brand new team, a brand new person. We are dealing with somebody that has been in the space, has made promises, and has not only made those promises happen, but has also been able to keep a DeFi project alive for more than a year, which you should actually get a medal for that and a trophy saying, hey, we lasted a year because you tried.
We didn't just survive, we thrived.
We thrived. You guys did a great job. Somebody asked about, hey, if you're in the UK, what about a free lunch? I just thought that was pretty funny. Probably not going to get a free lunch from what's it called? Let me see here.
Give me your home address in the chat now, and I'll get you a HelloFresh.
There you go. Hold on. Let me see. There's another question here. It says, and the 4 dexes. Hold on, he says, and to 4 to 5 dexes too, considering that there will be launch on Arbitrams of Sushi, Uniswap, what's next? I guess you're talking about what do you consider your closest and biggest competition inside of Arbitrum? Like, who is the guy on top of you or the project on top of you that you guys are trying to knock down a peg or two?
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think we're doing that. I never set out to do that, and I'll be brutally honest. Our options is our innovation, and that was always our plan A. And then you should always interrogate any idea you have, and part of that is a financial analysis, and you look at the market that's available, and you're like, okay, this is really innovative, and it solves a lot of scalability issues. It's much more scalable than anything that's ever existed before in DeFi from a decentralized trading perspective. However, it hasn't been done yet. And that's always risky, yeah? You have to be honest with yourself, or you're completely bullish and you believe in your idea. At the same time, you have to be realistic that until the rubber hits the road, there's always something to learn. And then, actually, I didn't know GMX is by far and away, I say they're the leader. DYDX is a bit of a funny one because they're huge and they run on their own chain, but there's questions around how decentralized they really are. But I don't want to make comments on that. And I would say GMX is like the one that most people know. They're like 25% of the TVL on Arbitrum, so they're absolutely huge. Or maybe they're 25% of the volume, I don't know. 25% dominance in something. But we really sort of discovered that and really understood sort of those models in interrogating what does the market look like and where does our options model fit in. And then what we realized was actually within perpetuals, whilst there's 95 people that do perpetuals, which sounds crazy, right? Look, why is this guy launching a business that does perpetuals? In truth, you get down to number 10 on the list and they look like abandoned projects. Again, it's just the same old shit that got me frustrated in this industry in the first place, is that most of the projects that are out there are just wasting people's time. They're just copying other projects with no innovation themselves and just sucking life out of other projects and teams that are innovating. And actually at the top of that list, you've got like a few. So DYDX have done well. Reports I've read is that they lost 130 odd million in the last year, which that's not my stat, by the way, I just read that somewhere. GMX have done extremely well. And then you've got a couple of others in chain as well. And after that, it drops off really quickly. So we've got 3 or 4 competitors that are what we would call very credible competitors that we look up to, albeit none of them do what we're doing in its entirety.
Gotcha, man. Gotcha. Hey, Gabe, can you take over on the questions real quick? I can't find the thing real quick on my end. Are you still there? I'm trying to pull this back up.
I'm still here.
Can you see if there's any other questions coming out of the audience? I just need to check something very quickly here on my end. I apologize.
No worries. Let me look here.
And then also, too, if there's anything we haven't covered, please let us know, and we'll get it covered before we end here today.
Yeah, I'll ask. I don't think there's gonna be an answer, but they're just asking, is there any hints of the SEX decentralized exchange that you are working with, or perhaps maybe some of the decentralized exchange you're working with, or even other partnerships that you have on the horizon?
It would be unprofessional to say so.
Absolutely understand there. I had to ask. It was in the crowd. I figured it was a bit premature, but no problem there. So I guess to be honest with you, I guess the only last question I really had is, what's the goal, or I guess the plan behind launch, audit, getting all these audits done and things like that? It feels like you guys have a lot to do in such a short timeline. You have your own token, right? You have the platform. You probably want to get those things audited. So I guess, are you feeling the pressure, or do you feel like you're going to be able to meet that? I guess that would be really my last one. I feel like it's just so much. You have the launch of a token, you have a DEX that's coming out, you have partnerships. And obviously you have a wonderful team. I think we've outlined that, but still a lot of things to juggle at the same time.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. I laughed out loud because I said that to my CTO today. I said, when you put it all down, it's a lot. And also our head of operations, we had a similar conversation. But yeah, the CTO, he's a great guy, super experienced, and he said, no, it's okay. We'll be okay. And a lot of it is stuff that we're pushing. We've got a strategy to our launch. We expect that you'll be able to stake the Foxify token on at least 4 dexes, and maybe it'll be around that region. And we expect to launch on 2 central exchanges as well. We don't see, in terms of launching smart contracts, I think we don't see any obstacles whatsoever there, and the listings are completely in our hands. The conversations have been taking place for a long time, actually. We've been talking to central exchanges now for 2 months already, and so really it's a long process, and we've already put a lot of work into it. To answer your question around audits, so we should start the audit process in around a week's time, and we would expect the audit process to be done within about 3 weeks, so well before we launch.
Okay. That was it for me. I think I asked the last question. It's on the member chat. So do you have any finishing remarks, Sensei?
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. I want to leave it with Danny as to close out the AMA. Please, first I wanted to thank everybody who attended here and everybody who's going to watch here. I do want to let everyone know that this is not a paid AMA. Working with Alice, I have a close relationship. She's brought a lot of great projects and teams in. And when she asked, I said, sure, why not? I do think this is a very interesting project I wanted to bring forward, but I do want to make it absolutely clear that this is not any type of paid AMA. This is just a project that I thought our community would be interested in learning more about, just to clarify that at the end there. And then Danny, with any kind of final words that you might have, please go ahead and share them with the community now.
Yeah, no, I just thank you for everybody that's come as well, and thank you for the great questions. I remember when we started out in the early journey of MDB, remember most of the places we did AMAs no longer exist either, right? We go back and we say, oh, remember that guy we did an AMA with, and it's just an abandoned TG group or server. So kudos to you guys for being such a tight-knit community. And I always remember this was a really tough community to come and get a pitch to. And the way that you would basically audit us as a project was super, super tough. And it was a pleasure to be here so many months as MDB. And yeah, it's been an absolute delight for you to have us as a party. And I'm 1,000,000% confident you'll be here in a year and we'll be back again. And we look forward to speaking to you next time.
I really appreciate that, Danny. Thank you for the kind words. And thank you for everyone who showed up. And if you have any other questions, let me actually link all the links for Foxify here. I'm going to go ahead and link pretty much everything that you're going to need to find out more information about Foxify right here in general chat. There are all the links to not just Danny's LinkedIn, but the rest of the team, and then the white paper, website, YouTube, Medium, Discord, Twitter, Telegram, everything that you need to find out more information about the team and also the project. Danny, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate that. You know, we really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about the project. We wish you all the success in the world. And I'll be in touch behind the scenes. I did have a couple questions for you behind the scenes on that, but like I said, I do appreciate it, and thank you for everyone who's showing up and whoever's watching this back on preview. If there is any questions, please go ahead and go into their Discord, ask them. They're very direct, and they will get your questions answered for you, anything to do with the Foxify team. All right, guys, thank you so much for attending, and we wish you all a very well and have a fun, great week. It is Monday. Aloha. Take care, everyone, and you guys have a wonderful day. Cheers. All right, guys. Bye.